Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Valeria and this is the Off-Road Ranch. I continue the topic of communication, and today I'd like to talk about the provision of online services by large companies, such as financial services companies, payment providers, social media platforms, infrastructure providers, cloud providers, and any other companies whose digital services we use in everyday life for making payments, earning money, doing business, for communication, integration into society, shopping, and overall for improving the quality of life. I have already recorded a video about incredible difficulties I encountered when trying to use payment providers such as PayPal, Stripe, Payoneer, Western Union, Wise, as well as many other smaller companies that I wanted to use for various tasks, including receiving donations. By the way, out of all the companies, I chose Patreon. Thanks to Patreon, I'd like to invite you to participate in a charity tree planting event for $10 a month. And in general, I will be grateful for your support for the development of the Off-Road Ranch. However, today I'd like to talk about customer focus, or rather the lack thereof, and the lack of the promised service in general. I will talk about the problems that exist in the company's technical support, why these problems arise, and how to solve them. And at the end of the video, I will give you a very valuable recommendation. Watch until the end so that you understand what terms of agreements you need to avoid so as not to lose your money, time, and invested effort. What is the lack of customer focus that most companies have and which we do not notice because we are used to being treated this way? Lack of technical support as such. Formal presence of technical support, but in fact, there is none. Access to technical support only if you are a serious client. Access to technical support upon payment, and also dependence of the quality of technical support on payment tariff. False communication with the customer when talking on the phone. Availability of technical support and communication with the customer before the purchase and during the purchase, but ignoring him after you have given the money. Lack of compromise, cutting off from service, ignoring the client, lack of client value. Lack of technical support as such. Some social media platforms, financial services companies, infrastructure providers have no technical support at all. You will not find a way to contact them regarding your problem. There is no email address for communication, no link to contact a specialist, no pop-up window to contact the bot or switch to a company employee. Such behavior can afford the companies whose services are used by the whole world. As usual, they are corporate giants and monopolies. These companies are such serious players in the world and a connecting tissue for people from all over the world that most likely you will use their services anyway, since you have no choice. Technical support is formally present, but in reality it is not there. The fact is that it seems that you have the opportunity to contact technical support with a description of your problem, but in reality the situation is the following: waiting for a response for months. The opportunity for the client to respond within 3 minutes and immediately closing the ticket. Closing the dialogue as soon as possible upon the desire of the operator. Endless redirection of requests to other specialists. Multiple changing specialists regarding one problem. As a result, none of them delve into the problem at all, and they all answer in patterns that have nothing to do with the question. For example, when I had questions with payments in one of the companies, their specialists confused Georgia with Bulgaria. That is, they couldn't even read the question carefully, let alone give me a solution to the problem. Access to technical support only if you are a serious client. Technical support is provided only to commercial and enterprise clients who bring in at least several dozens of thousands of dollars per year, and preferably per month. The more money you pay, the more likely that your problem will be solved faster, that it will be solved by an employee with extended powers, and that you will have concessions. In all other cases, please figure it out yourself. Read manuals, even if there are none, and contact chats where there are people who who are also ignored by technical support like you. Access to technical support when paying, and also the dependence of quality of technical support on the payment tariff. That is, if you want your problem to be solved, pay to have an employee assigned to your account who will respond not in 3 months, but at least in 3 weeks. In fact, paying for technical support is a very common and necessary practice, but in other areas of business, for example, in engineering, telecommunication, and server companies. In these spheres, in most cases, technical support is needed when purchasing equipment or using services, and in fact, it is called technical service. In this case, it is not just responding to one-time requests, but maintenance as a separate, full-fledged line of business. There is a dedicated staff of engineers who have certain certificates and permission to maintain the infrastructure. If the customer requires commissioning and maintenance during the operation of the equipment, then either the company assigns an engineer who periodically communicates with the customer, or the company allocates several engineers with the required qualifications who service the customer's equipment on an ongoing basis. But such technical service is a completely different situation than my one-time request to the company's technical support. And there is nothing in common between them. Moreover, initially, at the dawn of such concepts as technical support and customer focus, this service were by default included in the total cost of using these services. And each company tried to gain market share, applying a special approach to each client. Now, technical support has become a hypocrisy, which is spelled out in the term of use of services, but in reality is not provided for free. All of the technical support problems I listed above delay the resolution of your problems for months, which means you lose huge amounts of potential profit, lose opportunities for development, and waste your psychological resource. False communication with the customer when talking on the phone. In general, phone communication has become a rather rare occurrence, but if it exists, then often specialists just pretend that they are trying to help you, but in fact they answer with scripts, switch to other specialists, and tell that they cannot help you in any way, although they really want to. Such hypocrisy is even more unpleasant to hear from people in person than receiving mail from them. Firstly, it is just personally repulsive. And secondly, the work these people do has no value whatsoever. It's work for work's sake. A job to sit in one place for 12 hours, not decide anything, not help anyone, but only respond like a robot and make barriers for clients for continuing to work. This is especially annoying if the customer has to wait on the phone for an answer for several days. Availability of technical support and communication with the customer before the purchase and during the purchase, but ignoring after you have given the money. This is not the first time I have encountered such an attitude. When you are just looking at a product, they invite you to the office, send you a quote within 15 minutes, promise you the best quality in the world, offer alternative options, call you several times a day, offer the fastest delivery and other functionality. But as soon as the money is paid, the quality drops to zero. Moreover, both the quality of technical support and the quality of the service or product itself. The company doesn't communicate, technical support is constantly busy, documents take months to prepare, no defects in the product are no longer included in the warranty, and, in general, as it turns out, no one promised you anything. Just business. Lack of compromise, cutting off from service, ignoring the client, lack of client value. One of the technical support options is really quick responses to your requests, but in fact, they cannot help you in any way and you mean nothing to them. This becomes even more acute when you really need the services of such a company. If you use a large number of their services that are important to you, you have invested a lot of your resources in, then the lack of technical support is critical for you. Your work is blocked, and in a few hours you can lose hundreds of thousands of dollars and potential clients, which, once they haven't received an answer from you, will never return to you and you will never return them. And this is felt even more acutely if the company, at its sole discretion, decides to block your access to its services without giving any reasons, without considering your problem, without making any concessions, without agreeing to any additional checks of your data on their part, not paying attention to your request to reconsider the decision and give access to at least some functionality of the platform or to save some data. I would really like to hear from you if you have encountered such problems, because very often we get used to such kind of treatment. And I would like you to remember the times when you were treated as if you didn't exist. However, there is still technical support that really tries to help. I am very loyal to such companies, and I would like to say in their defense that such people are often attacked by customers, since the client often believes that he is always right. And since he has been answered, then it means that he has to express everything that he has accumulated for all technical support. Technical support that responds faces next difficulties. Roots and boors, who believe that everyone is owed to them, consider themselves superior to people from technical support and start a conversation with rudeness. Technical support has to endure this attitude, remain silent, hide their emotions and receive stress, often for low pay. Also, such clients often write complaints in any case, depending on their mood. A polite client, but one who believes that everyone owes him and demands impossible things, and instantly, immediately, although some things simply cannot be resolved in a few minutes. And if after confirming that he is satisfied with the service, he still rattles off a complaint, then this is hypocrisy. Human laziness. It may be that all the work of the company is quite well organized and the website has manuals and guides in full, but the customer is too lazy to look through them and he will ask the same questions dozens of times. Also, there is a category of people who have nothing to do and just want to chat longer. They simply ask various things about the operation of services, although for them it has no value, and thus they distract employees from current tasks. Moreover, in my opinion, it is more difficult for women to work since they are often not respected. In fact, there are only a small number of countries in the world where women are treated equally. However, this idea, in my opinion, is very distorted and often only creates difficulties for women without abolishing patriarchy. And in many developing countries, a woman is still considered as a secondary member of society, and many believe that it is permissible to treat women arrogantly, brazenly, demandingly, questioning their competence, commanding, or ridiculing their work, manner of communication, appearance, and any other things that a person wants to hurt in order to raise his self-esteem. In defense of technical support and any employees in the service industry, I want to say that, in my opinion, the expression "the customer is always right" shouldn't be a rule. Firstly, because of this principle, employees from the service sector are treated as unequal, as people with low qualifications and low pay, although in fact, high-quality support can retain 90% of customers and bring huge profits to the company. At the same time, these people are exposed to enormous stress and emotional exhaustion every day. In order to work in the service sector, you must really love humanity and always see the best in it. But the level of a person's education and control over what he says and how he behaves in our times decreases throughout life. Now, almost everyone can afford to be rude, hiding behind the fact that they are defending their rights, knowing that the employee will do what is needed and will not say a word, and in the end, he will turn out to be guilty. But even if the client is really right and has complaints about the quality of services, he can try to remain human and convey his thoughts politely and calmly. In my opinion, a modern person needs to develop communication skills throughout his life. I talked about the importance of this in videos number 46 and 47. I would like there finally be a balance and an acceptable level of communication between a customer and technical support, so that all parties are as satisfied as possible. And if they are not satisfied, then they would leave feedbacks that would be heard, and they would think about whether they demand too much. Let's move on to why technical support is so purely organized. Almost all problems are related to incorrectly structured business processes. The owner is not aware of the existing problem. Either he is not being told the truth, or it is not customary for the company to collect and analyze statistics to understand weaknesses, or the owner is indifferent. The greed of the owner, which means a heavy workload on employees and low wages, which is not motivation for the employee at all. Or in order to save money, the owner uses outsourcing, who doesn't understand the products and services and simply cannot give the solution of the problem. Untrained staff who don't know what to do. Either this is the owner's problems, or people work without the necessary knowledge and skills. And this is also the owner's problem. Attempts to solve problems through employee rotation and additional workload on employees. The right solution is to consult independent professionals and not to give new responsibility on employees with existing tasks and certain competence. Lazy staff without motivation and without quality recruitment. This is a problem of the HR department. And this is also the owner's problem, because if you have a business, then for it to be successful, you have to understand all the processes. Lack of frequently asking questions and lack of clear navigation on the site, which leads to the fact that the client himself cannot quickly find a quality answer to his question. Of course, this is nepotism. And despite the fact that in many countries it is prohibited by law, there are many ways to circumvent this prohibition through other connections, through other legal entities, through lack of qualified personnel, and so on. The more critical problem is that the company as a whole doesn't value customers and refuse to continue providing service or improving service. The reason is that the owner doesn't care, especially if it is a large company with a high barrier to entry into the market and a high percentage of margins. In this case, there are no competitors in sight, the client doesn't have much of a choice, and the company will still make money due to high payback and marginality. This is the most common problem. There are clients, there is profit, and everything is okay. Overall, after watching this video, key company employees will already understand what direction they should move in if they care about their customers who bring them profit. And if an ordinary employee of an ordinary company, the typical company I worked in and we all work in, if he at least sometimes pays attention to the organization of process in his company, then after watching this video, he clearly understands that his company has these problems as well. The biggest issue is that all these problems within the company will be left disregarded until there is money that solves everything. This applies to any problems, but if we talk about technical support, then there might be profit, for example, from paid technical support, especially with different tariffs, profit from additional options, separate services, the provision of financial options, and so on. And while these methods bring more profit than lost profits, the problems are not solved for years. And if lost profits are not calculated at all, then the problems are not solved at all. This can last for decades, and then, in case of crisis, top management implements the following policies. A staff reduction against the backdrop of world events. Some kind of automatization and restructuring of processes which is developed on crutches, as I say. A merger and acquisition of some branches. Or bankruptcy. In my opinion, mergers and acquisitions are the same as bankruptcy. The company, as a unit that conducts activities and has influence on the world, ceases to exist. The owner puts his child under control in the alien hands, and if I were the owner, it would hurt me a lot. But if the owner knew about his lost profits due to potential clients leaving, he wouldn't miss a single client, and he would find an approach. Profit can indeed increase several times, and even several dozen times. But in order to calculate the actual amount of lost profit and find real problems and solutions in the company, extremely professional, very expensive people from outside the company are needed. And it is not a local accountant or chief financier who don't give a damn and generally have no competence to solve problems. In my language, there are such sayings as greedy pays twice and greed is blind. So owners pay much more from incorrectly built business than if they paid an outside expert once to solve their problems. And if we talk specifically about technical support, then its quality can become ideal and employees will begin to treat customers as human beings. Only 1000% of companies hire professional people whose task is not to perform a certain number of procedures as consultants do, but to find problems and eliminate them, providing guarantees subject to the fulfillment of certain requirements for doing business. Such people are called troubleshooters. Unfortunately, even in the case of a truly critical situation in the company, when there are already huge debts and the company is one day away from bankruptcy and litigation, very few companies think about finding a radical solution, about radically changing the business strategy, and about paying for the services of a troubleshooter. And as I said, only 1000% appreciate the importance of an initially correct structure with maximum and long-term profit, and they understand the high cost of troubleshooter services. There are only a few such professionals, real troubleshooters, in the whole world. They are responsible not for the strategy, but for the result itself in your company. They have dozens of education and decades of experience, and they do not receive certificates in 1 year or even 5 years. These people do not obey the system. They see problems from other angles, and they do what is right and not what they want or what is common. Such people are considered dangerous because in addition to solving problems they are paid money for, they see solutions to the world problems. But many people support and aggravate problems. They create problems in order to make business out of it. And they will do anything to be on the top, even if the world is thinking. But that's another topic for discussion. And I'm not sure it's even safe to talk about it. And if you want more important content about the truth of the world, then I recommend you to watch the video number 20 about the correct approach to charity. So, what kind of customer centricity actually exists now? Customer focus is an individual approach and concessions to certain rare individuals who bring in millions of dollars. Other ordinary people mean nothing. This is the lack of opportunities for ordinary people to use services. That is, difficulties in developing a business, in organizing a life, in increasing profits, in improving the quality of life overall. This is a huge lost profits for companies, and they don't want to solve and stack problems with money. The origins of the hypocritical attitude towards customer focus lie in greed and indifference, and at the moment we have two major world problems. One is associated with a capitalist society. Money plays a major role in and is the absolute value of a person. The second is related to the organizational approach to business, where a person, in an attempt to save money, effort, and time, creates a business structure that works on crutches. In my opinion, speaking globally, we need to review, firstly, the financial and economic system of society, and secondly, the system of education and upbringing of a person to improve the approach to life and to give a person opportunities to create. And finally, my personal recommendation to you. Never ever use the services of DigitalOcean, because in case of any questions, only you will be to blame. The company is not able to provide the service properly. It only tells fairy tales about focusing on customer needs in its press releases. Write in the comments what you think about this. How to return the importance of person instead the importance of profit. What should companies change in their business strategies? What should be changed in upbringing and education so that a person approaches work with high quality and detail? It is important for me and for the whole world to hear your opinion. Visit my community page. It is gradually updated with social questions that I raise. It was Valeria, the Off-Road Ranch. I wish you all the best and see you soon.